The educational establishment is trying to trick you about critical race theory. A recent letter by the National School Boards Association to Joe Biden prompted the start of federal domestic terrorism investigations of parents who speak at school board meetings. The letter makes this claim about critical race theory. This propaganda continues despite the fact that critical race theory is not taught in public schools and remains a complex law school and graduate school subject well beyond the scope of a K-12 class. Notice how this school board member of the Chandler Unified School District in Arizona is almost saying these exact same words, confirming that local school boards are actively complicit in sending the feds after parents.
Anti-CRT jargon when we're not even teaching CRT in K-12 schools. It's a very complicated framework that they only teach in law school.
So, is critical race theory in schools, or not? Yes, it is. For starters, we can't be sure, but there probably aren't many K-12 schools in the country that teach a class with the exact title, quote-unquote, critical race theory. They may be evil, but they're not stupid. So here is how they do it. First, critical race theory is being practically implemented via so-called equity initiatives. Second, snippets of critical race theory are taught in classes ranging from literature, over chemistry, to English. Here are some details. Equity, school equity, racial equity, deep equity and affirmative action are all practical manifestations of critical race theory. The key of equity is not equal opportunities but equal outcomes. The goal is to break down the foundations of our society, which are individual freedom and merit. For example, in New York City, gifted programs will be phased out, because the racial makeup of students in these classes isn't to the liking of the people in charge there. Too many Asians and whites, too few blacks. Thomas Jefferson High School for Science and Technology in Virginia, one of the best public high schools in America, has started applying racial quotas to applicants to socially engineer the racial makeup of the student body, punishing Asians. This is in effect extending affirmative action policies from colleges into public schools. As an example, data from a lawsuit against Harvard University show that while a black male medical school applicant of a certain qualification has a 95% chance of acceptance, almost a shoe-in, a white student with the same qualification only has a 32% chance, while an Asian student only has a 25% chance, meaning only 1 out of 4. That's a huge difference. Here is the student government of Perry High School in Chandler. Here's the student government of Arizona College Prep School. If you see this with the eyes of a racist social justice warrior on the school board, can you recognize the problem? Do you see how racist and oppressive the schools, the school district, the students and the parents are? Consequently, these schools, and also places like the Knox Gifted Academy, will eventually end up being closed, or converted, in the name of equity. Think of race-based admissions, race-based school board seats, race-based grading. All these things have happened in places where the radicals have taken charge. In Arizona and CUSD they are underway. If you don't want it to go any further, then make sure you vote to get the radicals off the school boards and elect people who restore sense. Critical race theory can be woven into the teaching of many subjects, for example history. As an example, Arizona was conquered from Mexico and then enlarged with the Gadsden Purchase. Under critical race theory, this complex history is distorted and dumbed down, here by Kamala Harris too.
The European explorers ushered in a wave of devastation, perpetrating violence, stealing land, and spreading disease.
You see how this works? America was built by people from all over the world. European settlers and workers, Asian immigrant workers, Tejanos, slaves, free blacks, some of whom owned slaves, and last not least, quote, unquote, privileged indentured immigrant workers and child laborers. Yet, it has become very common that schools teach a false and dumbed-down version that simply says, America was built by slavery, and white privilege and you're all racist, and America is evil. Don't get tricked. Critical race theory is deeply embedded in schools via institutional policies and encroachment on other subjects. Nearly every school district these days has a highly paid equity, inclusion and diversity director, who'll fight tooth and nail to keep and expand their department and salary, at the expense of taxpayers, parents and children. Speaking up is the first step. Be aware though that critical race theory is not going to be removed by speaking at a school board meeting once or twice and then proclaiming victory. It will require a sustained effort that may have to last for years or even decades. After all, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Classifying and treating people by race as evil, it's counter to the basic concept of individual freedom. Fight it wherever you see it. School districts that allow this racism in any shape or form should be held to account. This includes the Chandler Unified School District in Arizona. Vote no on the budget override. First chance you get, in 2022, vote to get the radicals off the school boards and replace them with strong, sensible and ethical people who'll work for parents and students.